Welcome to this MCTV special presentation as Mayor Robin Ellicott and City Attorney E. Joyce Iyamu answer questions about the upcoming May 1st special charter election. Stay tuned.
E. Joyce, what specifically is the Missouri City Charter?
That's a great question, Stacy. The Missouri City Charter is essentially the constitution for the city of Missouri City. It is the document by which the city governs itself in all of its dealings.
And what is the amendment proposal process for the city charter?
The amendment proposal process in Missouri City entails the establishment of a charter review commission the year before the election of the charter, essentially of the amendments. The process provides for a commission to essentially propose different amendments to the charter. They spend 6 months going through those potential amendments, and at the end of that 6-month period, they submit a report to the City Council of the City of Missouri City. The council reviews that report and determines whether or not they would like to amend the charter. Now, the council is not required to utilize only the amendments that the Charter Review Commission provides. The council at that time can consider additional amendments to the charter, or they can create new amendments to the charter that can then be submitted to the voters. So once council decides to have that charter election, they essentially, just like in ordering another election, they put those items on an election order for the city on an election ordinance, and then the election is called and then held.
Mayor Ellicott and E. Joyce, we just talked about the city charter serving as a constitution for the city. How do you both see it as a resource for council members and staff in terms of governing and managing?
Thank you for that question. So I want to take this opportunity to first and foremost welcome everyone. And this opportunity right here is to be transparent with all of you that are watching this. We have several sources that we use to allow people to know what's going on, especially with our charter. And our charter allows us to, as a governing body, mayor and along with city council members, an opportunity to govern within those charter. Now, the charter is designed to make sure that as a governing body that we are following what's written in there. And these take several years, right? As we go through, just like the U.S. Constitution, you get amendments to it. And it's the same thing that happens here. But as a governing body, what we do with the charter is everything that we do for Missouri City.
And E. Joyce, as city attorney, what do you see the significance of in terms of governing and managing the city as it relates to the city charter?
I think the charter is one of the most significant documents that a city can have. The city's charter was actually created or adopted in 1974, and the charter document itself comes from the input of the public. So the charter is important because it essentially sets forth the guidelines for council as well as staff in governing the city and managing its assets and providing services to the citizens.
And E. Joyce, what is the criteria to serve on a charter review commission?
An individual has to be a resident of Missouri City to serve on the Charter Review Commission. That's essentially it. After that, the council considers applicants, and the council then decides who is able to serve on the Charter Review Commission.
And how do individuals apply to serve on a commission, and how are they chosen?
The Charter Review Commission is actually only instituted once every 4 years. So at that time, kind of like I think in last year's round, information goes out, people apply utilizing the standard form that's on the city's website. And once they apply, the council considers those applications, and then they decide who gets to serve on the city's Charter Review Commission.
Thank you. Mayor Ellicott, have you served on a previous Charter Review Commission?
Yes, I did. So in 2016, I had the opportunity to serve on the Charter Review Commission. It took us about 6 months, I would say, that process. We worked closely with our city attorney and assistant city attorneys, along with there's 5 or 6 of us on the commission. And we go through items. So it's a lengthy process. It takes a longer time than what people think. And some of these suggestions are coming to us from citizens throughout the 4-year gap that we have, because we do this every 4 years. So the city attorney put all of that together and kind of bring it out to the commission. And then also city council has some input in it where they're given that opportunity to have charter review certain items for whenever we have that upcoming session. So all of that's combined together with the Charter Review Commission. And then they would make the recommendation forward to the city attorney that will be taken to city council. So yes, I had the opportunity in 2016 to serve, and I think some of those items that I've served on during that time, was able to pass, and we have been able to implement. I also had the opportunity in 2016 to serve with now council member Sterling, and I both were on that Charter Review Commission together back in 2016.
What recommendations did the current commission make to city council, and what were the next steps council took after those recommendations were made?
So the current commission actually made about 4 recommendations. After those recommendations, the council then considered those recommendations and added a few other items. What I would like to say, though, before telling you what those 9 items are that will be on the charter election this May, I want to say, as the city's attorney, I'm not able to provide the public with legal advice, and the city is unable to advocate for or against any proposition that is on the election. However, I can certainly provide information, and that's what we're doing here today, providing information for the public's educational purposes. So with that, I'll go through the different charter review proposals. The first item would delete the provision that allows the mayor to act as the chief administrative officer when a city manager is not appointed. The second item requires the mayor pro tem election to be held every December. Right now, under the city's current charter, the mayor pro tem is elected after each election. With the potential change in election dates, or not dates, but in terms of election years, the council decided that it was probably in the best interest of the city to just have the mayor pro tem elected once a year at a set council date. And so that's what that second proposal does. The third proposed amendment simply clarifies the language that requires council concurrence for the appointment or removal of department directors. The language is changed from concurrence to advice and consent. So essentially, it does the same thing as concur. It just makes it easier, I think, for the general public to understand what is meant by concurrence. The next proposed amendment is to authorize the city council to have an employment contract with the city manager, and it requires the city manager's salary to be voted on essentially in that contract. So that's the fourth amendment, or proposed amendment. The fifth proposed amendment, which is probably the one that I would think that folks would be most interested in, is the proposed amendment that extends the city council's terms from 2 years to 3 years. The next proposed amendment creates term limits for city council. Right now, our city council members can serve without any type of limit. If this proposed change is actually passed and approved by the public, members will be restricted to serving 12 consecutive years on council, after which they will have to sit out for a set period of time before they could run for election on Missouri City City Council again. The next item changes the amount or the time frame in which the city has to close its books, essentially from 60 days to 90 days. The next item clarifies that competitive bids are required when there's a competitive sale of bids for bonds and not just a negotiated bond sale. Hyper-technical stuff, but still important for the management of the city. The next item changes the date for the appointment of the Charter Review Commission from July to January. As hopefully most of you know, the Charter Review Commission is currently appointed in July every 4 years. But that made sense in the past. Oh, I shouldn't say made sense. It makes sense however the public wants to do it. But it was that way in the past because the city had May elections. The Charter Review election after being appointed in July would then fall to the May election. Back in 2016 or 2017, the city moved its elections to November. So now the Charter Review group is appointed in July, their report comes out in December, and the election is held in May, but the city council members are elected in November. So this change would allow the city council to appoint that commission in January, have the report issued in June or July, and then have the election in November along with the other city officials' elections.
Thank you. And when is the special election?
The special election to consider the proposed charter amendments will be held on May 1st, 2021.
Who can vote in the election?
Residents, individuals who are registered to vote may vote in the election. In addition, the individuals who reside out in the limited purpose annexation areas of the city of Missouri City are also allowed to vote in this election.
Can a voter vote for individual items, or is it all items or none?
They are individual items. So there are 9 items. The voters will be asked to vote on each individual item.
If passed, what's the process for the amendments being implemented? And if the amendments do not pass, what happens next to those items?
So I'll take your first question first. Upon adoption, the amendments are passed. However, they do not take effect until the City Council actually passes an order acknowledging the approval by the voters in the election. Regarding the items that have not passed, those items will not become part of the charter if they do not pass.
When will the next Charter Review Commission be selected?
The next commission should be selected in essentially 4 years from last year, which would be 2024.
So Mayor Ellicott, we just had a comprehensive overview of the Charter Review Commission, all of the facets that are involved, and as the highest elected official in the city, but also a homeowner, someone who's been engaged in the community for a long time, what do you see as the significance of citizens being engaged in the Charter Review Commissions, and how is their feedback vital to the city?
Sure. As our city attorney just spoke about all these items, so you will have 9 items, 9 proposals that a resident of Missouri City can vote on, and which requires to be individual items. So which means you can vote for proposal 1 and not vote for proposal 2, or vice versa. So this gives the citizens an opportunity to vote with your conscience on what you are wanting to see as how Missouri City move forward. As I've took office, my number one goal has been to be transparent with our citizens, to let them know what to do and what's going on and how they should look at this and be open. Because a lot of times, myself, as I go to the polls, when you see these Charter Review Commissions items, you don't have an idea of what's going on. You're not aware of what's happening. So this is very important to the citizens. This allows the governing body as City Council an opportunity to move forward if it's passed. And if it's not passed, then we work with where we at today. So, items such as, the consecutive years that one can serve, that would be a particular item. And then each council member's term, whether it's 3 years or not. And those, again, are all opportunities for citizens to decide. The Charter Review Commission just make those proposals, and City Council accept them and ask to be put forth in front of citizens. So again, this comes back to the citizens makes the decision on what needs to be done. This is not done through City Council. So I want to take away any confusion in the community as to the City Council. When we get these Charter Review Commissions, we look at them and we decide and talk about it and discuss and then push forward for an election. But these are being decided by the residents of Missouri City. So as our city attorney, Joy, said, her goal here today is to just explain these and talk about them and talk about what they are in detail, but not to, persuade in any way as to how one should vote. And same thing with me. As a mayor, my goal is not to sit in front of you and to persuade you to vote one way or another. It's just to basically come out and say, these are the items that are in front of you as residents of Missouri City. My job is to educate and inform you and to let you know these are the items, and those are the items that you will be asked to vote on for the betterment of our city. This is one way of communication to let people know, let our residents, our community members know what's important and how this is important. So I would urge all of you at home to talk with your council members, especially your district level council members as well as the large council members, and to hear, and if you have any concerns as well, talk with them. You're more than welcome to contact our city attorney's office to get more clarity on issues. So once again, this is an opportunity for our city to move forward with these proposals. And I do want to take this time to thank our commission that was put forth by Mayor Ford and the council at that time. And they did a great job, and they moved several items forward. And it's myself and the council today is the one that's pushing forward with some of these recommendations, so this way that citizens will have an opportunity to make the final decision to move our city forward. So together we can excel.
Thank you for watching this MCTV special presentation. I'm Lindsay Westmoreland. See you next time.